What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the show. So what do you guys think about this whole debt ceiling debate? Do you think if we go into a default, we will be looking at delays when it comes to Social Security and Veterans Affairs and some other agencies? I want you guys to, in the comments below, let me know how you feel about this. Today, we're going to look at a report from CNN. This is a video clip, and they're going to be talking about the whole debt ceiling debate. They're going to be talking about what could potentially happen if we go into default. So that's what we're going to talk about in this video. But first off, if you guys can do me a favor, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit that little bell notification, and then click all. By clicking all, you'll get notified anytime we post a video. We do daily videos here, so by clicking the bell notification and clicking all, you should be getting updated every day. And like always, if you guys are not getting notifications, let me know in the comments below so I can relay this message to YouTube. Thank you. Okay, let's go ahead. I'm going to play this clip. And the good thing about this clip and the good thing about what they're saying is I've talked about this 3 weeks ago. I was talking about this very same thing. And I have had some people say, well, this is not going to affect Social Security. It's not going to affect when checks go out and all that. And that's not necessarily true, because if we go into a default, we could see a slowdown. We will see a slowdown. I won't even say we could. We will see a slowdown because they won't have the manpower to do the things that they were doing before with cuts. So what we're talking about here is we're talking about the debt ceiling going into default. We're also talking about the negotiation, because we have to talk about that as well, because they're talking about making cuts to Social Security. They're talking about making cuts to some of these other agencies. And if they make cuts to these agencies, that's going to be more of a long-term delay. However, if we go into a default, that's going to be short-term because the money won't be there. They can't pay the bills. And if you can't pay the bills, if you can't pay people to work, then you're going to have a slowdown in these different agencies. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at the clip, and then we're going to talk a little bit about it. Here we go.
Debt default would have a major impact on tens of millions of Americans, from Social Security to veterans benefits to how much that you pay for a loan. Here's a look at potential downsides. First, Social Security. About 66 million retirees, disabled workers, and others receive monthly benefits from Social Security. For 2/3 of them, it makes up more than half of their income. And if the U.S. defaults on its debt, those payments could be delayed. It could also take longer for veterans to get their disability payments and pensions. And even paychecks would be stalled for the 1.4 million active duty military members and more than 2 million federal civilian workers. If you look at the big picture and the economic effect, a debt default would likely be disaster for the financial markets. Moody's Analytics has estimated stocks could shed as much of a third of their value, or around 12 trillion, yes with a T, in household wealth, even if the impasse were solved very quickly. The cost of borrowing money and paying off debt would also, of course, rise. That's because interest rates on loans, credit cards, and mortgages are often based on Treasury yields. That is on top of the increased costs Americans are already facing from rate hikes. And finally, a debt default could trigger an economic downturn. As you might imagine, analysts suggest the jobless rate could jump to 5% if it lasted a week, and over 8% if the standoff lasted more than 6 weeks. Let's hope it doesn't happen.
Okay, so now you saw some of those stats there when they were talking about active duty military could be affected as well. So it's not just people who are retired. It's not just veterans who are no longer active duty. This can also affect active duty and civilian employees. And so that's why Congress needs to get this right. That's why they're going to be meeting on the 9th. So you're going to have the White House meeting with Speaker McCarthy and Leader Schumer and Leader McConnell. And they're going to try to come up with something, because they have to move forward with the debt ceiling. They need to raise the debt ceiling, and then they can talk about the budget. But doing them at the same time, we already know that you have politicians that are not in favor of that, and the majority of politicians aren't in favor of that in the Senate. And so you're not going to be able to move forward with a legislation like that. Even though they passed it in the House, it's not going to pass the Senate. And so they're going to have to do something else. They're going to have to come to some different type of alternative. Democrats are also talking about a discharge petition. They're talking about forcing a vote in the House. And so that's something else that we're going to keep an eye on. That could potentially happen around May 16th. So this week coming up, we're looking at May 9th. That's when they'll have their meeting, this big negotiation, and we'll see if anything comes out of the negotiation. I'm going to be completely honest with you. When it comes down to it, I don't think much is going to come out of this meeting. I think right now you have Speaker McCarthy. He's dug in. He passed his bill, and he doesn't really look like he wants to negotiate, or at least he might want to negotiate. However, there are Republicans in the House that do not want to negotiate. They actually even want to make more cuts. And so Speaker McCarthy's caught in the middle. He doesn't really have any leverage. It might seem like he has leverage because he passed a bill, but he doesn't really have leverage to negotiate anything when it comes to the debt ceiling and the budget. I think Speaker McCarthy will come out and say that we made progress. We're at least talking, but I don't think anything is really going to come out of this. I think they're probably going to kick the can down the road, so maybe have an extension for a couple of months, but I don't really see any real movement when it comes to this debt ceiling budget debate. I just don't see it. But you see, if we go into default, that is going to be a disaster. And I'm just hoping we don't have politicians that make that huge mistake of going into default, because that would just be an absolute disaster. I want to know what you guys think about all this, so let me know down below. This is one of those situations where it happens every time. We come to this 11th hour, but now I really don't have any faith in our Congress right now to actually put something of substance out there when it comes to the debt ceiling as well as a budget. So I don't know what they're going to do. I really don't. I mean, usually they come to the 11th hour, but we kind of know what's going to happen in this situation, because we are so divided as a country. You have Democrats wanting to do one thing, Republicans wanting to do another thing, and the people are going to get caught in the middle if we go into default. And all these things that they've been talking about, loss of jobs, delays in Social Security and Veterans Affairs, all that stuff is potentially going to happen in June if they can't get their act together and move forward with this clean debt ceiling, or do whatever they need to do to raise the debt ceiling. So leave your thoughts below, like the video, subscribe for more, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Bye.